Oh, man. Well, we are finally live. Sorry for the delay. Sometimes that happens. This is like the third time for me in front of the camera today. Man, it's a good day. Fridays are always a good day. So it's a good day to have you guys here with us as well. For those of you tuning in, this is fantasyinsiders.com, Insiders TV. I am David Kitchen, aka Soccer Dave, at Soccer Dave on Twitter. Joining me, the man, the myth, the legend, Ben Pritchett, bottom right, aka Natural Slugger, and Davis Mattek, aka at Davis Mattek. And on the daily fantasy sites, people might know you as Davis Mattek. Right.
I keep it simple, man. I want people to know who they're playing against.
Well, obviously they know that they're playing against you. So if you have any questions for us, feel free to ask them in the chat. Also, find us on Twitter, hit us up, and we will try to get back to you. We're going to be talking about college football week 8 for the daily fantasy sites. I thought I put a lot of work into it last week. I think I put more work into it this week than even last week. So I feel ready to go. Ben, you and I were talking about if you do enough research, when you are on one site, it gives you the confidence to play on multiple sites because you have a good kind of feel for who's hot and who's not. With college football, there's a lot of research to be had. So once you kind of cover that, you can kind of get a feel of who's good values and who's not. So I would encourage you, Ben, to play on multiple sites and stop being such a little wuss.
Agreed.
I wouldn't call it being a wuss as much as I'd call it like trying to be smart. Right? No?
Trying to be smart would mean capitalizing off of the investments and research that you've done in college football. For me, at least. So not everyone is the same, but it's nothing wrong with that.
I make my little money. I made a lot of money last year, and I'll probably get lucky and make a little bit of money this year. And I like seeing people be successful. That's what we do. So
you do.
I'm perfectly fine with that.
You do, but you also have a really hard time as far as playing in large stakes games. So let's not act like you're being the Robin Hood of DFS here.
I get sick. It's not comfortable for me when I lose. I don't like to lose. And so if I'm not winning, it's not fun for me. So I have to win, which is, I guess the reason why we all play.
I mean, who likes playing DFS to lose? Well, I like losing, so I'll put in a lot of research and throw in some games here and there.
Yeah,
so
true.
I want to donate my money to all these degens on DraftKings. Like, no one wants to do that.
Yeah,
exactly. I mean,
I'm not donating my money to anybody. I'm giving my research away for free to all the lovely fantasy insiders out there that are cutting edge and come into our site. So,
well, without further ado, let's get into some of the plays. We all know about FanDuel. We'll get to FanDuel a little bit later. Ben, your article this week on fantasyinsiders.com was about the Draft Street plays. Who are those Draft Street guys that you were really interested in this week?
Draft Street is my DFS drug of choice for the most part. I love it. I love the challenge of it. I love the difficult salaries. I love the updated pricing. I love the difficult competition. It's fun, which is why I'm very tentative about putting a lot of bankroll out, is because I don't want to lose. And I know everybody you're playing against on Draft Street is smart. And but basically, I mean, I really, really, if we're jumping with the quarterback position to start off with, if you read the article, you know that I'm really high on Connor Shaw. That there's one little game where he got hurt that shadows his averages, and they bring them all down. But if you take that game out as an outlier, he has put up incredible numbers, and his price is 13.8, which which is very doable. I also like Garrett Gilbert, which is going to run contrary to Vegas and just about everybody else out there in the fantasy industry. So if you're looking for that pick that nobody else is making, Garrett Gilbert is that guy. I have him as number 3 at 15.1, and I'm the one person that doesn't believe Memphis's D is legit. I mean, I've read everybody. I read Phil Steele. I've read other daily fantasy commentaries, but nobody believes in Gilbert. I believe in Gilbert. I think he's special. He put 7 touchdowns on the board last week. That's incredible. And Memphis's schedule isn't that great. Their defense is way overrated.
I mean, I think I've seen some places that talk about Gilbert this week, and some of the locks of the week that these bettors, I'm not sure what you would call them, but looking for some research, their locks of the week were the Southern Miss game. So I don't think you're the only one on that.
I'm the only one.
I don't think you are.
No.
Okay, well, maybe you are. So you're big on Connor Shaw. I am big this week on Johnny Manziel. I think that you want to pay for him if you can. He is going to go absolutely bananas. And then another guy who is really cheap on Draft Street is Taysom Hill and Taj Boyd. Taj Boyd is really cheap for a game that could be a shootout. I'm stuck between, do I play Taysom Hill with Manziel or do I play Boyd with Manziel? Davis, what are your thoughts at the quarterback position for Draft Street?
I'm with you. I'm with you on Boyd. He's in a ton of my lineups. I think Florida State's defense is pretty good, but Boyd has gotten it done against SEC defenses multiple times already this season. I think the $13K price tag on him is a little low. But as far as spending, I'm either going like with Boyd or I'm playing Mannion. Like if I'm not going to go like straight value with like Cody Herring or Cooper Rush from Central Michigan.
Yeah. I mean, Mannion is a great play. We have you. Well, I think we lost you there for a second. Mannion is a great play. Obviously, Cal's defense is terrible. Ben, you've talked about in the past how they have no depth. They've lost like 6 guys in their secondary. I mean, they're pulling up offensive players to play defense. It's bad. And regardless, even though Oregon State lost Connor Hamlet this past week, they've got a guy named Caleb Smith in the wings. They have Cooks, and they also have Richard Mullaney, who's going to start. I like Mullaney as a number 2 a lot of places that you can't afford Cooks, just because there's going to be tons of passes to go around. Ben, what are your thoughts as far as that Oregon State game?
Yeah, I'm all in. I was working under the assumption that Mullaney was not going to play. I mean, he was literally doubtful from the beginning of the week all the way to the end, because I've been watching that game like a hawk, trying to decide if I wanted to do the Mannion-Cooks combo, which is going to be the big dilemma that every DFS player is going to face and look at, especially on sites where it's a little bit more manageable. Draft Street, you are having to use a considerable, like 40% of your bankroll or of your salary cap on Cooks and Mannion. So if they don't do it, you're going to lose everywhere. And so I've been watching, trying to see what was going to happen. And last night, apparently Milani got healed. He played in pads today. He practiced in pads, so he's going to be good to go tomorrow. And you got to be all in on that. On everywhere pretty much, because I think his salary is pretty doable everywhere. Caleb Smith, the tight end, should be filling in for Connor Hamlet, which Connor Hamlet is the tight end that a lot of people like to play that don't really follow but want to get action. Like, I think a lot of the Sharks like to use Hamlet because, I mean, he's a touchdown machine, and with Mannion throwing 25 touchdowns so far this year, he's going to throw some touchdowns. Caleb Smith is filling that role, and he had a 2 touchdown game two games ago, so should be interesting to see what he does. And he's only $3,800, so he's awesome.
As far as Cooks, do you play him anywhere? He is 11,000 on FanDuel. He's 21,000 or something like that on Star Street. Are you guys playing Cooks anywhere? Because obviously he's going to get a lot of looks. Does this high price tag scare you away?
The only place I haven't been able to get him in was Star Street, and I don't even play. I play like one game a week on Star Street.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Davis. I'm looking at him in FanDuel. If he makes a roster of mine, it'll be in FanDuel. But I don't spend on my receivers very often, so it would shock me if he makes it into many of my teams. I feel like I have an edge when it comes to researching not to be cocky, but I feel like I have a little, or very cocky. I feel like I have an edge when it comes to finding the cheaper wide receivers when I play. So I tend to stay around the 6,000 receivers in FanDuel and the 10K or less guys on Draft Street.
We talked about Taysom Hill. As far as the other BYU running back, trying to find his name. It's in the 8th. Jamal Williams. I'm not going to lie. I had him at first in my Draft Street team, and now I'm fading him because I think Taysom Hill is going to do a lot, and because there are so many other options out there on Draft Street. But at 8.8, you really, there's just so many options as far as in that $7,000 to $11,000 range this week. I had to cut out some fat, and he is a part of that. Am I making a huge mistake by cutting out Jamal Williams?
I don't think you are. I think Jamal Williams is 8.8 is what he is. I think he's great in that he can get the yardage and he may get a touchdown, which is what you want. But it's all going to depend on if Taysom Hill vultures those touchdowns and vultures those carries, which very well could happen. It's a very legitimate fear, and I don't think a whole lot of people will be on him except for as a flex play, anyways, on Draft Street.
Davis.
Yeah, I haven't got him in, or I actually did put him in one lineup because I just read Ben's article 3 or 4 hours ago when I was making some lineups. But before that, he hadn't made it in. He hadn't came across any. I hadn't needed him.
Let's see. Let's get on to some other games. This Georgia Vanderbilt game, I will be at that game tomorrow. I don't have a lot of faith in my doors. So I'm expecting. I like Conley. We talked about him and Rantavius Wooten last week. Davis, you were big on Wooten, and actually, if you played him last week, it served you well. Conley had that last touchdown. He did drop the 2-point conversion, but the touchdown saved him. A lot of people were on him. It came out this past week that he wasn't really comfortable with that outside position, the outside receiver position this week. He has had another week to kind of get used to that. Vandy's defense just cannot stop anyone this year, and I don't have any faith in them at all versus Wooten, Conley, J.J. Green. And if there's ever a week for Arthur Lynch to go off, it is this week because Vandy's linebackers are paper thin. They got injuries. They had to roll out 2 walk-ons last week or 2 weeks ago against Missouri, and we only saw the Missouri punter in the fourth quarter. So as far as your favorite Georgia players, Ben, I'll start with you because you are the Georgia fan. Who are you liking in this Georgia game?
Gosh, it's really painful to even talk about Georgia right now because I feel like it's not fair what they're going through because they were a really good team and taking the early stretch of playing top 10 teams one after the other and doing pretty well was really awesome and inspiring to me. I wanted to just go to Athens and hug a hedge, but I didn't. And so it's tough. These injuries happen to everybody, and it's leaving us really thin. If you're looking at the bright side of what's left, Aaron Murray's a stud, and he's going to get some points. He's still pretty pricey everywhere, and with the lack of options around him, it's just tough to pick him. I do like J.J. Green. I posted in the article. He's my number 14 in the value ranks. He's got a lot of skills. I posted that Vine just because I wanted people to appreciate that was an amazing play, and he's shown that burst and that ability when he's gotten the chance in the game. It's just he's splitting those carries with Douglas and makes him a little riskier. But Davis, you talk about your yards per carry theory for everybody when it comes to splitting carries.
Yeah, so we were talking before the show, and my theory is, when I'm doing my research and I'm like, hey, I don't know running back situation this week, and I just pull up a team sports reference page, and if the two top guys, a lot of the times a quarterback will be up there in rush attempts, but if two guys are close in rush attempts, you break the tie by yards per carry. And in college, just the way roles are defined, oftentimes you'll find a team where there's a 2 or 3 yard difference in yards per carry between guys.
Ben?
Yeah, and that's why you like JJ Green, because he's coming in with an 8 yard per carry average since he's been playing this year, and he's averaging 100 yards per game since the studs went down, since Keith Marshall and Todd Gurley went down. So I mean, I like him. I'm not that I'm staying away from Brendan Douglas. I know, David, you like Brendan Douglas in the PPRs, but and Brendan Douglas is fun to watch. He's a prototypical hard-nosed, all those little stereotypes you want to put on him, kind of running back. But
hold on. You compared him earlier this week to Danny Woodhead, and then you said hard-nosed, hustles, whatever. Will you just come out and say he's white? I mean, basically, that is basically all you have to say, is that he's white. And thank you, Drew Stinkmeyer in the chat. He said, "Is he white?" Yes, he is white.
Wait, JJ Green is white?
Mm-hmm. Yes, he's white, and he's
I had
he's
no
built
idea.
too. Yeah. He had a fumble last week, which was costly. He said that he did like 100 up. I don't know what it was, but it was a lot. He basically punished himself for it.
Yeah, he's one of those guys. He's that guy. When we were in high school, remember, David, when we were in basketball, and you weren't at this because you were climbing a tree. But after that game we lost, and coach took us out to the gym and made us run suicides. We had this guy on our team that would run it as hard as he could. For like 30 minutes, all we were running was suicides, and this guy was beating us all about a mile, and we were just cussing at him under the breath. That's what Brendan Douglas is. He's that kind of guy.
He is, I mean, if in basketball terms, he is a gym rat, right? Right. Okay. Yeah. So Douglas is a guy that if on a PPR site, you might want to play him. I like JJ Green. I'm with you. After seeing that Brendan Douglas was white, I came off of him a lot. So, I mean, that's not racism. It's just after seeing that he was white and he was built. Actually, seeing him in an interview, he didn't look too fast. He doesn't look explosive. So I'm not playing him anymore. I'm focused on JJ Green. If you watch the video that I recorded today about the super sexy picks, it's interesting that a lot of the sexy picks today are colors, speaking of white. But you have Mac Brown. You have Silas Red. You have JJ Green. You have Trayvon Green for Northwestern. And you even have C.J. Brown for Maryland.
Wow.
Am I right? Okay. Well, there you have it. As far as that Vanderbilt game, on the opposite side, I'm not playing Jordan Matthews really anywhere just because his price is a little too high. And defenses have zoned in on Matthews now, where they're double covering him. The guy that I think is Jaron Seymour, the running back. They had kind of a running back by committee. Seymour was basically named the number one person on the depth chart. So that last fill-in guy, if it's right above Seymour, feel free to put him in there because he's going to catch some screen passes. He's going to run their Wildcat. They're pretty successful at the Wildcat. I like Jaron Seymour, and I think that he is going to do a serviceable job. Let's talk about wide receivers on Draft Street. There are a ton of wide receivers and low-price wide receivers for what their value is. How are you going to decide who plays? Because you can only play a max of 4 wide receivers, and there's a lot of good running backs out there, like Mac Brown at 5.5 K, and you have your boy C. Strunk at 13.3, Melvin Gordon at 12.4. I feel like the running backs are pretty much self-explanatory there. However, the wide receivers are the the core that everybody's kind of having problems with about who to play, who not to play. You got Sammy Watkins, Mike Evans, Drace Anderson, Deontay Greenberry.
Strez.
What'd I say?
Drace.
Oh, sorry. Wow.
That was a Brendan
Sorry.
Douglas moment.
And apparently I'm boring Davis because he's over here yawning. College kid.
I've been up since 6, man.
Really? Oh
Get
my
over it, man.
gosh.
We didn't go to bed till 6 when we were in
Yeah.
college.
Yeah.
Actually, I didn't go to bed till 6 this morning. Anyways, wide receivers that you like on Draft Street. If you have to play these guys, I didn't even mention Crowder, who you're high on, Ben. Davis, I'll start with you. Who are some wide receivers that you like?
Well, I'm differing from Ben because I have Brandon Cooks in a lot of my lineups, but I'd say he's probably in 60% of my lineups on DraftKings or Draft Street. I mean, but as far as wide receivers go, Campanaro, I'm taking advantage of his lowered price tag because he's a lot like Cooks in that he's his team's number one option, first down, second down, third down. They want to use him. I was really worried about that game against NC State. Last year he had 5 for 14 against them. Well, him and Tanner Price just completely took over that game. He had a 35-point game on Draft Street. I really like Campanaro. I really like Rashad Green from Florida State. I think he's at 8.7. I like Sammy Watkins a little bit. I know some people think that he's going to struggle with those Florida State corners, but I think at 9K he's manageable. And then I like Tevin Reese.
Tevin Reese is interesting. Ben?
Yeah, I'm going to go a little opposite of Davis when it comes to Tevin Reese. I'm more of a Woodley guy this week because Reese is
Goodley.
Goodley. I'm a Goodley guy this week. Reese is Reese is a little bit more expensive than I'm willing to do. I mean, he's got him by a couple thousand, or 1,000, and last week it was the opposite. And so I just try to, with those receivers, they're pretty much the same. So I go with the one that's cheaper. But yeah, I mean, I'm sticking to the 9 to 10 to 11K guys. I like Landry more than Beckham, which we need to address that bet from 2 weeks ago there, David, which you still haven't.
You've got to find me a picture.
I told you which picture I wanted. I wanted the picture of you crying like a little baby when you were 3 years old.
I mean,
I know where it is.
I really do not.
Yes. Okay. Well, I've tried to find it. I don't have it saved on my computer, which I thought I did. Well, but I don't.
That's kind of weird. That you would have a picture of me crying like a baby saved on your computer. I don't know where it is. So, I mean, if you want me,
I'm gonna have to contact your sister because she's the one that posted it.
That's like a different sort of bet here. So, no, didn't we have a bet for this upcoming week though?
No, we don't have one yet. We were talking about doing Langford, but over who's that other running back? Who's the running back I liked? You wanted Langford, and I said
I don't know.
Somebody
you
else.
Said someone crazy because you didn't like Langford at first, but now you've kind of come around and seen the light.
Yeah, I've warmed up to him.
Brandon Ross a lot. Might have been him.
No, it wasn't Brandon Ross. But David shouted me down. And he actually convinced me to kind of back off of my love for that player. I just can't remember who it was. Oh, I do. Kevin Parks.
Yes. I'm not a huge I would rather have Langford than Kevin Parks.
Yeah. I'm not and the more I researched, the more I backed down off of Kevin Parks. But I still think he's pretty solid.
Okay. So wide receiver, let's get back to wide receiver. Ben, you are fading. Well, first of all, Eric Ward's 9.7. Just kind of looking through. Sammy Watkins is 9.2. You're fading Sammy Watkins this week.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about that. Why are you fading Sammy Watkins?
I mean, he caught 24 yards last year, and it's not that I think players get up for big games. If you look through the history of college football, whenever there's a big game and you think it's going to be a defensive battle, it always seems to be the opposite of that. And this is probably going to be one of those games, prime time. Taj Boyd needs to make his NFL money and, stake his claim that he's a first rounder, and he's going to have to do it on this game. There's going to be a lot of people trying to prove things. There's going to be touchdowns, even against FSU's strong defense. And Sammy Watkins is probably going to be the one that does it. It's just I do like Eric Ward, too, against West Virginia's kind of weak secondary, even if it is in Morgantown, which West Virginia always plays better in Morgantown. But I think Ward is kind of developing a little bit more chemistry. And if people are quick to forget how awesome Eric Ward was the 2 years prior to this year. Just because he had a little struggle to start the year, he's starting to come on with like a 60-yard games and a touchdown. Pretty soon, once they hammer out who's healthy and who's not, I know that they said this is important to talk about, is Baker Mayfield practiced, is going to play tomorrow, is probably not going to start. So there's a little like Davis Webb, Baker Mayfield don't play either of them, but it's something to monitor when it comes to if you're going to play Jason Morrow or Eric Ward or the other Texas Tech players.
Your voice almost went Darth Vader there for a second. I'm not sure what was up with that. As far as the Davis Webb,
hey, it's getting late, so it goes into that
nice.
Sexy mode.
I can get in the sexy mode too. Just whisper softly. As far as the Davis Webb and Baker Mayfield situation, I think what benefits is Jason Morrow, especially if Baker Mayfield's not playing. I like Davis Webb to be playing for my tight ends. Ooh, yeah, you like that?
They're both playing. We just established that they're both playing.
I know, but I would really like it if it was just Davis Webb playing.
You guys are freaking me out because I have never met anyone with the same name as me, so it was really weird. It's really weird to hear that some college quarterback has the same name.
There's a lot of Davises out there, aren't there?
Last name, not first name.
It is. I did see a few different wise guys say it's funny that their two quarterbacks all have last names. So Davis Webb, Baker Mayfield. It's some people have a big problem with that. I don't, Davis. I don't have a problem with your name at all.
Thank you.
I mean, it's a little weird. But who doesn't? Drew says that was a weird part of the interaction. So, yes. As far as I'm going to give you some wide receivers to rank. Okay, you ready for this? Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, we have the wide receivers kind of in the sweet spot. So that would be Mike Evans at 11.2. And then you have Jordan Matthews at 11.6. Braylon Addison, 10.4. Jarvis Landry, 10.3. Eric Ward, 9.7. Sammy Watkins, 9.2. And then you have, was it Drace Anderson?
Drez.
I think Dan Bach was talking about on Twitter about how he didn't know how to.
It's like Trace, like uno dos. You don't say uno dos tres. No, you don't. You say uno dos tres. So Drez Anderson. First of all, who names their kid Drez? Anyways,
it's probably short for something. His name's probably Dresden or something.
Yeah, or not. As far as your top three of those, name three of those wide receivers. Your top three of those.
Okay, I missed the middle group. I have Evans, Matthews, Watkins, Anderson. Who else did you?
Just look on Draft Street in between 8.8 and 11.7. That range. Who are your top three? I'll go ahead and give you mine, if I may.
Okay.
Oh, now you got me kind of confused. Happens.
All right. Well,
okay.
I have mine.
I'll tell you what, Davis, you go first, and then I will go.
Okay. It would be Sammy Watkins, Jordan Matthews, Braylon Addison.
Can you repeat that?
Wow. That's mind-boggling.
Yeah, I assume Ben is going to go completely.
Go ahead
way.
and repeat that a little
No.
slower.
I'm definitely not going that way, but go ahead.
Sammy Watkins, Jordan Matthews, Braylon Addison.
I don't have a problem with that at all. I really don't have a problem with that at all. Ben, your turn though.
No, thank you on that. I have rankings that I just wrote for everybody
Okay,
to read.
and for those that are not reading for right now,
So if you are illiterate and cannot read my rankings, it goes Mike Evans, Jamison Crowder, and Jordan Matthews in that order.
interesting. I will go Mike Evans, Sammy Watkins, Drez Anderson. Those would be.
Drez Anderson is the interesting play for me. I like him.
And Deontay Greenberry is at 8.1. He's a guy that catches a lot of passes. Didn't do a lot last week. He is in my lineup though this week. I'll go ahead and tell you that.
Yeah, he's in the value plays. Yeah, Greenberry is a great play. Especially if you're trying to go a little bit cheaper to free up more money for those awesome running backs. Because you got to get C-Strunk and you got to get Melvin Gordon. I want everybody to hear this. C-Strunk, Melvin Gordon need to be in your lineups, and then you build around them. And if you can put one of those quarterbacks that are up at the top, I know I'm putting my agenda out here, but I don't care. Taysom Hill or Connor Shaw. Just pick one or do both and put them in your quarterbacks, and then run C-Strunk and Gordon. I'll be happy.
Taj Boyd.
Yeah,
I don't know about C-Strunk.
Yeah,
man.
I don't know about C-Strunk either. There are just so many freaking options on that team.
2 words: Glasgow Martin.
No, I know what you're thinking. He's a touchdown vulture, but y'all are kind of undervaluing how good C-Strunk is.
No.
I was talking to somebody else that didn't believe that C-Strunk was any good. He had one bad
No
game.
one is doubting how good he is. It's the fact that his price is so high and there's so much talent.
He's 13.3.
If there is
he's only
if there is ever a place to play him this week, it's on Draft Street. He is on my team for Draft Street.
Okay.
If there's ever a place.
Okay,
However, yes, take a deep breath. Everywhere else, his salary is just it's in the risky range. It is in the risky range where you better hope that he's going to have a lot because you have Glasgow, like Davis said, Glasgow. I know Head Chopper's on him. Max Dullery, I played a 109 against him tonight on FanDuel. He had him in his lineup on FanDuel, which was interesting. I mean, obviously he has a lot of chips in that basket. So I think that with Glasgow Martin, Tevin Reese, Woodley, or as Ben likes to say, or Goodley, those guys can take away from production when you have other guys that are the focal point of the offense, like Gordon.
The risk is real because they're going to blow this team out probably. I don't think Iowa's very good. So 1 94-yard touchdown to Tevin Reese, 1 Bryce Petty rushing touchdown, 1 Glasgow Martin touchdown. Then all of a sudden, he's got 150 total yards, and that's it. That's all you have out of him. And you could get that. You could get that from Tevin Coleman for $9K.
This pisses me off. I don't think. I think you guys are taking into too much of what Glasgow had 15 touchdowns last year. I think we're seeing a more mature and amazing C-Strunk this year than what we saw last year. Last week, he only scored 1 touchdown. I mean, I know Glasgow Martin is solid for his price and everything, but when it comes to taking away from C-Strunk, just go back and look at the previous 4 games for C-Strunk before last week. I was not. If I would have been here in the daily fantasy realm and doing this show, I would not have been on C-Strunk last week. I was not on C-Strunk. But I think his matchup this week against Iowa State, who is bad against the run, is going to be really one he's going to be able to take advantage of. I just don't see how he doesn't have a big game.
Dink says he's got to have 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. You think he has that?
Isn't that what he's pretty much averaging?
Not after last week.
Well, take away last week.
Okay, well, are we removing games now from averages?
Yeah, we're
Well,
taking game logs.
I mean, you can take away, maybe one outlier performance. I didn't like Kansas State has a decent run defense. I
No,
wouldn't
they
say it's
don't.
good.
I see those guys
It's
every week.
decent.
They have no, it's not. It's bad.
Davis sees them eating Pop-Tarts on campus.
You guys laugh, but that inspired me to play Daniel Sams in a GPP that I won. So
What did? Tell
know.
the users.
just seeing Sam's on campus, I was like, it's gonna be a weird experience someday to tell that guy that I gambled on him. So I want to see if I can win a tournament. with him.
Was he really eating a Pop-Tart? And if so, what kind was it?
I think brown sugar cinnamon, but I can't. But seriously, K-State's run defense is bad, and everyone knows it.
Okay.
I'm not sold that was. I think that was just a fluke. I don't think that's C-Strunk. But if you want to fade him, go for it.
No, I don't. I'm not saying fading C-Strunk. I'm not saying he's not one of the best running backs. I'm just saying that this week I think there are other ways to go, especially because I'm spending on Cooks in so many lineups.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna go the Oregon State way, then you have to be going in Jeremy Hill and under, which is I'm fine with if you do it properly, but if you're putting cheaper plays like we talked about in the fillers, if you're putting fillers in, it's going to be tough for me to recommend not having C-Strunk in your lineup.
Okay, and I understand. I mean, I've got C-Strunk on my draft street lineup. If for nothing else, if he goes off, I really do not want to hear it from Pritchett. It would be like the ultimate, like most annoying thing in the world if I faded him and he went off. So I'm just.
Let's talk about Odell Beckham, by the way.
Okay, let's talk about him.
Yeah, about the time that you said Landry had it, and I had Beckham as number 2, and Beckham had 200 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Okay, well, let's talk about Devin Street and Tyler Boyd. And that one time,
that I said Tyler Boyd would not get 3 touchdowns again, and the next week he got 3 touchdowns. I know. That's pretty.
Let's talk
bad.
about that. No, I want to move on. I want to.
Hey, wait. Let's not move on just yet. Kansas State's defense against running backs is 53rd in FBS out of 126.
Take that, Pop-Tart.
53rd is at best average.
No, it's not even halfway. It's better than half.
You can't even count like the last 20 FBS teams. Those are not even real.
Well, they count because teams play them.
Okay. All right.
Iowa State is 109 for your if you want to keep up
all
with
right,
that stuff.
Let's talk running backs for just 1 second. CB35 says Gordon or Sankey. Bishop Sankey, obviously the
Sankey. If there's no money involved, Sankey. I mean, if it's just pretty much you have the option to go Sankey, go Sankey.
Yes. The fact is, though, that Gordon is underpriced for what he is capable of doing. That's why Sankey is not going to be played too many places. I would agree. Sankey's just getting so much of the load. Going back to the whole Max Dullery thing, he played Keith Price against me.
Why are we building lineups on Max Dullery?
No, we're not. I pose this question to you. Obviously, he's the guy that plays the most out there.
Yeah, he's a beast.
He went Sam's last week, and it paid off. I do not understand Keith Price. Out of all the quarterbacks you could go, I do not understand Keith Price, especially if Sankey's going to get the ball. I mean, what is he thinking going Keith Price? I know we're meaning to get on running backs, but I just want to know what is going on there.
I don't know either. I mean, your guess is as good as mine. I mean, I know Keith Price has had his moments this year, but I really don't know what he's seeing. I mean, we talked about this a little bit before the show, but I like Austin Seferian Jenkins. So if you want to pair the two, maybe, but I think there's other options at that price point. A lot of other options that I like better.
I mean, I agree, and we'll get to FanDuel in a second. I want to touch though on what do I always say. I want to touch on the running backs.
You're all about touching the running backs.
I don't know why I say that. Everybody knows I'm a wide receiver guy. I don't know why I always like to touch on the running backs. Let's touch though on the running backs. Mac Brown at 5.5 must play on Draft Street. Yes or no?
Yes.
Davis.
Hey, Davis.
No, sorry. I was pulling Draft Street up for when we make our lineups together.
Are you doing the scary stories with the laptop?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. But no, I don't think Mac Brown is a must-play at all.
Okay. Wow. 5.5. They lost Matt Jones. I think he's a must-play. Ben thinks he's a must-play. 2-1 against you, Davis.
I suck, man. You guys win.
Well, the people are afraid of Kelvin Taylor, which, Kelvin Taylor had one decent game last week, and so people are automatically off of Mac Brown. But Mac Brown, I mean, I understand Mac Brown's skills aren't that great. He only is averaging like 3-point-something yards per carry. So I get people not wanting to latch their wagon to him, but at 5,500, he's the lead back. What are you wondering about? Like, I don't understand. If he gets in the end zone, he's going to get the carries. It just makes sense.
I mean, I saw him the other day, and he was walking on campus, eating some Ritz crackers with peanut butter, and I was like, all right, well, that guy gets it. He gets it. He's going to have a breakout week. I'm calling it.
I can't argue with that logic. I can't argue with it.
I am calling it. He has a good game. Listen, Mac Brown has been a huge bust for Florida. Coming out of high school, he was one of the top running backs in the nation. He's a senior. It's time for him to shoulder the load. There is no better time than now. They don't really have a passing game. They're going to rely on him a lot. They have basic run packages, and they're just going to be using him and abusing him. I'm not worried about Taylor eating into his carries. It's clearly, I think, just reading this week, it's clear the Mac Brown show. So that is where I'm going. There are some interesting exotic names, if I may. Sailor Lavali. Is that 3 L's in his name? No, I'm looking at it on. I'm trying to look at it on Draft Street. Okay, it's 2 L's and then 2 I's. So Lavalli, Sailor Lavalli. Yeah. But
he's a hard worker too.
Oh, is he a white guy?
Yeah. No, he's a hard worker.
Yes, he is a blue collar guy. Takes his lunch pail to work.
Oh.
Well, he's 5'9", 213. That's a big boy.
Yes.
For a 5'9" dude.
If we're going small school running backs, you want to get the guy who just had 40 carries for like 282 yards 2 weekends.
Wait, hold on. It's over 300, and we want to wait and talk about him with FanDuel.
Yeah, but we do need to talk about him. I feel like no one's talking about this guy because they want to play him everywhere, and they want to make some money. It was pretty clear when there are 5 slates of FanDuel games, and then everybody starts playing the early-only games that he is listed in. Like, everybody starts creating lineups for the early-only games, and it was just clear that he is going to be the guy that no one thinks, the basic player is going to know about. But there are these exotic names like Fluellen, like Lavalli, like Baggett.
Well, so let's talk about Baggett.
And he's 16K.
We were kind of
on.
Yeah, he's incredibly. Since we're still talking about Draft Street, do not touch him on Draft Street. He's insanely priced on Draft Street, but on FanDuel he's 6.5.
I don't say don't touch him on Draft Street because there's so many cheap options to supplement. You look at your boy Kalfani Muhammad, and you look.
Yeah, I should have talked about him when we talked about the Cal.
You should have
State game.
Yeah, I'm all over him with you, Ben, for real.
Yeah, I'm glad I sold some people on him. That 10.3300 meter time, that came from Twitter people because I did a lot of searching on Twitter.
Searching.
Which
Love that tool.
which is what that was, because I was looking for some other info about Oregon State guys, and then I knew who Khalfani Muhammad was. I knew him as the returner and the guy that occasionally got carries in the offense, but apparently he got his first start last week against Navy, and he's going to get a start again this week. Or did they play? No, they play UCLA. Sorry, but he's going to get a start again this week. He's going to be awesome. I have no doubt that he'll bring value to that 3.7 price tag.
Okay, so Jordan Payton, the number 2 receiver. Look at that picture for Davis. Isn't he adorable?
Yeah, I'm surprised he doesn't look more like that.
Oh my gosh!
When we call him,
that is. I guess
Allen Iverson / Sharif Abdur-Rahim.
I guess his connection went out, but he. Dink Piece just said Christian Mingle. Oh, farmers only for Mr. Tuttle. This is too good. Let me move to just me and Ben. That is too good. Jordan Payton, the number 2 receiver for UCLA at 3.4, or Khalfani Muhammad at 3.7.
Yeah, Khalfani Muhammad. I mean, I can't get over once I started digging deeper into this guy. It just got. I just started to like him even more. Like I ranked him as 10, but I wanted to put him higher, but I couldn't at that time. But I mean, I think I don't know if he's going to be awesome against Oregon State, because Oregon State's defense has put up decent numbers. But, if he does anything, if he breaks away one big run, and he's golden to be a Philly.
Well, and they're going to have, I mean, it's not like they're going to be running the ball. Look,
yeah,
hey, Davis. Hey, boy.
Hey guys.
Oh.
That wasn't even my internet. Skype just literally just shut down.
Man, well, you just shut down the internet, my friend, with that profile pic. Can you give us just a little
It doesn't work anymore because I have all the tattoos, man. I can't look all innocent.
No, I mean, just give us one of these right here.
One of these right here.
Can we call that
yes.
Davising?
That's what I'm gonna do.
Mattekking works better.
Hey, I want to get some of that. Come on, shoot it at me. Yeah.
That's how you make the ladies go crazy.
Oh, we will definitely be doing a screen cap of Ben saying, "I'm going to get some of that. Shoot it on me." Anyways, Cal's not going to be running the ball a whole lot. I don't think, but with screen passes, they might be looking to get Khalfani in space. He obviously, I mean, you might as well if you got one of the fastest guys on the team. So yeah, if he gets, I don't know if he outscores Peyton, but I think he has a better matchup and better opportunities than Peyton does. So if you have an extra $300 and you were playing Jordan Payton like myself, substitute that with Khalfani Muhammad. Tight ends on Draft Street. Are you just rolling with Caleb Smith at 3.8 and calling it a day?
Yeah.
Jimmy Mundine from the University of Kansas at 3,000 at 3,054. He's like $54 above minimum price. He's like their leading receiver as far as touchdowns go. The reason that Pearson and Sims never score is because they always target him in the red zone.
Oh, nice. I'm looking at his game logs. A touchdown the last 3 games, even if he only had 1 catch last game.
He's like Jacob Pedersen or those guys. But
yeah. So it's definitely an interesting play. I still like Caleb Smith for $800 more. However, for a GPP play, he might be good. I'm not sure if you read or not or saw the video that I posted earlier today about the Soccer Dave Super Sexy Picks, but Charlie Weiss took himself out of the equation a little bit with that Kansas offense this week. He basically loosened the reins up and relieved himself of some of the offensive coordinator duties. Yes, I said relieved himself.
And duties.
Giggles. But he basically wants to get a fresh perspective in there. He says he thinks the guys that that came in with him from Florida did a good job this week as far as game planning. So I look at him and I look at James Sims as kind of like a what the heck play. And if you're just rolling out a GPP and he's ultra cheap. So
Pearson is back. He's going to play this week, though, they think.
yeah.
So that limits Sims' usage.
Right, but he's still like dirt cheap for how good he is. It's just their offensive line is terrible. On the opposite side, I'm looking at Clay from Oklahoma as being the number one back. The Sooners are just going to run it down Kansas's throats. They're 18th in the country, averaging over 225 yards a game. I think that they go over that this week, and Clay is the number one back for that. So if he can get one touchdown over 100 yards, he's going to get his value.
The Sooners suck, man.
You suck.
Whoa.
You suck.
Yeah.
Whoa.
No, I'm a Sooners fan, and last week was one of the most disheartening Red River shootouts of like literally my lifetime. They didn't call any designed runs for Bell. Heupel's play calling was just terrible. I don't want to play anyone in that offense until I see, because there's rumors that if Bell sucks again early on, they're going to pull him not for Trevor Knight but for their true freshman quarterback recruit that they have. So I'm not playing Clay anywhere.
Ben?
Nah, I'm not playing him either. But it's not because I hate Oklahoma. I think Texas came into that game with a lot to prove, and it was at home, and they got their two stud receivers back. You know, whatever, hook 'em, underhook 'em, whatever that's called.
It was awful. The whole game was terrible.
Yeah, but Blake Bell, people just fell in love with that 4 touchdown performance, and you did too, Davis, and I did too. I was guilty too, because I was like, I didn't know he could throw the ball, and then now we're starting to realize maybe he can't throw the ball.
They went away from the run last week though with Blake Bell. They totally abandoned the run with him and tried to do a lot of passing.
They think he can throw too.
I want him to get. I think he's a kind of a sleeper play this week just because Kansas is so terrible. But if
I would agree with that. I'm with you on that. I think Sterling Shepard, which we haven't. Are we going to talk about FanDuel too?
In a second, yes. Gosh.
Okay.
Well, here, Ben, it's your show. Take it away.
So on FanDuel, Sterling Shepard is minimum priced, so he actually has a lot of value there. That's all I got on the Oklahoma offense.
We all know about Davis's big
Davis.
crush on Sterling Shepard.
Gone, man. OU not only lost the Red River shootout, but they lost me a bunch of money. So no, thank you. I'm so anti them in fantasy right now.
Anti them?
I'm anti Sooners in fantasy right now.
I hold grudges too, David. Do you hold grudges? That's really bad. It's like a bad thing to do.
But it's a natural tendency. You just have to let it go. I mean, it's with anything in life. People that wrong you, people that harm you, you want to hurt them. Adorbs. Oh. Look at that. He's so adorbs.
God damn it. I have to fix my internet. I'm just going to change my logo to the fucking Fantasy Insiders logo.
Oh, no, don't do that. You'd be promoting the company that you work for. As far as Draft Street, if anybody has any further questions, yes. Feel free to ask it in the chat or on Twitter. We'll get it to you. Let's go to Star Street, though, for the Pick 5 for college football this week. I choose Star Street. Do they have a college football option? They don't. Let's go to draft day, and
it's a few weeks in a row.
Their draft day. It's like it's so tough. This is a tough draft day. But real quick, Mannion versus Mariota. Who do you guys have?
Mannion. Mannion's going to throw 6 touchdowns.
With Milani, I'm going Mannion too.
I will go Mannion as well. As you can see, Bishop Sankey or Marion Grice.
That's
Sank-
easy.
Sankey.
Sankey. Yeah, Sankey.
That for me, that was probably the easiest one.
Should be.
Melvin Gordon or Seastrunk.
It's a no effing brainer.
I'm,
Oh,
I'm gonna say Seastrunk, but I don't want to just because I know Ben wants me to say Seastrunk.
don't feel peer pressure, Davis. I mean, you're a college kid. You don't need to feel pressured by me on Seastrunk.
Okay.
But yes, Seastrunk is the correct answer, though.
Have you seen Davis's hat? I mean, he's already succumbing to the peer pressure.
I was on these before they were cool.
Yeah, I liked Vancouver Grizzlies back when you're playing NBA Live.
Who was that guy on the Vancouver Grizzlies that you?
Sharif
Yes,
Abdur-Rahim.
you loved Sharif Abdul-Rahim.
I loved me some Sharif Abdur-Rahim.
You did. You really loved him. Devontae Adams or Jordan Matthews?
Adams.
Oh gosh, that's the hardest one.
Mm-hmm. Looks like I won't be rapid fired Max.
Flip a coin and whatever that comes up with. I'm gonna say Devontae Adams. Just
me too. I'm going to say Devontae Adams just because it appears that he has the best matchup, and they're going to be throwing the ball around.
I don't know, man.
I think they do. I mean, Georgia's defense is not that bad, and with Devontae Adams, he at least has some help. He has a pretty good quarterback, and he's not facing an SEC defense. That's why I'm going him this week. Last one, Devin Gardner or Brett Hundley. This one is, I don't think it's as tough as what people might think at first.
Hundley.
Okay, well, maybe it is.
Maybe it is.
I'm going Gardner. I think Gardner has a good game, and he's going up against Indiana, who I think is going to give up a ton of yards. And Hundley's going up against Stanford. Stanford's not as good as they were last year as far as defensively. However, I think Garner's going to get it done on the ground, in the air, and he's a good play that I'm not sure a lot of people on. You have Gardner and you have Braxton Miller, and they're both kind of getting overshadowed by some of these other quarterbacks like Manziel and Mannion and
well, Gardner should be getting overshadowed by those other guys. Gardner has been really struggling. He's been putting up okay fantasy points because most of these sites only take off like 1 point for interceptions, like I know Draft Street does, and so that doesn't hurt you as bad. But Gardner's been struggling, and Indiana isn't as bad as people think they are. They had trouble with Missouri, but everybody's having trouble with Missouri. Missouri's wide receivers are average like 6'6". I mean, Georgia had trouble with them. Everybody's having trouble with them. So I wouldn't hold that against Indiana. I think Michigan. I think Devin Gardner's had one big game. Notre Dame.
He's had a few big games.
This year,
week, he had 240 yards passing, 3 TDs, and 121 yards rushing for 37.7 points. That's not bad. He had in the Notre Dame game, yes, that was the ultimate game with 82 yards rushing, a touchdown, and 294 yards passing, 4 touchdown passes. But even a few other games, he did good. Really, the 2 bad games were against Connecticut and Minnesota. So,
did you see what Brett Hundley did last week?
I like Brett Hundley.
4-10 and 3 touchdowns and didn't even really break a sweat.
Hundley is way better than Gardner. I don't really care about the matchup. He's way better.
I mean, I agree. I just think that I think Vegas agrees with me that Michigan's going to score more points than UCLA.
Yeah, you may be right. I mean, that's. I think you're going to wind up being right on this one. So.
Suck it. Ben, do you have to pee? Do you want to take a pee break? Okay.
No,
if you do, just let me know because it's like a common theme on this show about taking a pee break.
Do I look like I need to pee?
No, but you said that you wanted a commercial so that you could pee because you had to. Well, let's just say, do you want to tell everybody listening right now what happened?
Well, we were going like 3 hours in a marathon last week, and I had to go. So, I'm resourceful and it only shoots from the waist up. So, you do what you got to do.
Wait, what
We've
only
all been
shoots
there.
from the waist up?
The webcam.
So you're saying that you peed during the show?
I'm a professional and I'm gonna let you just use your imagination there.
So yes, you did. Hold on, I'm tweeting this out. Natural Slugger just admitted on fantasyinsiders.com/TV that he peed while the show was live last week.
I don't see why that's a big deal.
Yeah. I was We were going long, dude. It was like crazy long, and I didn't want to interrupt you. We were in the zone. I think you went to a Davis. He started talking about whatever he was talking about, and
I wasn't on the show last week, man.
No, it was just me.
2 weeks. 2 weeks ago. It was 2 weeks ago. It was when Davis was on. I wasn't on the show last week either.
Okay. It was, but I thought it was like when it was just me and you, and I'm like, I was talking. It's a little weird for me knowing that I was like talking to you, and you're like looking at me while you're peeing. That is awkward. I don't care who you are. That is awkward. So,
Professionalism.
When we make it big in the industry, I'm a survivalist. So I don't know if you know that. So we do what we got to do to survive.
oh man, you are a numbnuts. That is what you are. Let's talk FanDuel though. Let's switch gears to FanDuel, please. By the way, okay, let's switch back.
Great. That's what I'm gonna be known for
What?
now. The guy.
Natural Pisser.
Who-
Is that your new name?
That's what I'm calling him from now on.
So, okay. Well, if you have to take a pee, just do it. I will never look at that gnome behind you the same again, though. That is for sure. As far as today, Mr. Tuttle had to pee so bad. I didn't know, but I could see on his face, he's like doing this right here. And like, he wasn't even laughing. It was like grimacing. And I was like, do you have to pee? And he's like, yes. It was only after the show where I see that he messaged me on like 3 different sites, GChat, text, and Skype, as I have to pee really bad. Go to a 2-shot away from me. I've got to really pee. So if you have to pee, just do it on the show like Ben does. So I just ordered a trucker buddy.
You're lucky that I don't understand smoke breaks in my contract.
I just ordered a trucker buddy off Amazon. If you don't know what those are the little handles that contour towards your flow as you sit. So
It's better than wearing like Depends or something, which apparently is what I'm gonna have to do with these like 3-hour-long marathon shows.
I just told you we can go to commercial. I just told you that is. In fact, we did that last time when Davis was on. So you must have.
We did not go to commercial with Davis on. We had technical difficulties.
Yeah, that happened like 4 times.
Whatever. Let's.
Are we talking about FanDuel yet?
Please, let's talk about FanDuel because all this talk about peeing is like making me want to pee.
Yeah, I totally have to pee now.
Gosh. Oh man, that really did get water all over me. Dang it. FanDuel, early only games. There's one guy you have to play and another guy that you have to play. Maybe. But the one guy you have to play, Terry Baggett. Am I right or am I right?
Yes, you're right. Baggett, all up on Baggett. 300 yards last week. I think he was named like player of the week for the whole FBS last week. And Temple's run defense is bad, so it just seems like perfect. He's 6.5. So I mean, I don't even know where that ranks him in the early games, but I think it's like probably 15th of all running backs. So jump on it. Nobody else will know who he is either when you're playing the guys that
I
don't
disagree.
follow.
I think a lot of people are going to be on him. I think 60 to 70% are going to be on him.
I think it's less than that, but if you could prove it, we would bet.
I mean, you can see the percentage now on FanDuel. of percentage owned.
Okay, then let's bet. What do you want to bet?
I think 50% or better.
You said
Okay,
60
well, if we're
to
betting,
70%.
if we're betting,
You just dropped it by
okay,
20%.
a 10-man $25 league, he is 60% owned.
I'll take
Okay.
that bet. Okay, what are we betting? That Davis doesn't come on the show next week.
I can't make it anyway.
Yeah, so screw you,
oh.
Pritchett. If I win, I get to order the shirt that you wear at some point this college football season on the show.
Okay. If I win, you have to do half the show with your shirt off.
I mean, sure. I will do that. Not a problem. Half the show.
No. Let's come up with something better.
Nobody wins.
Yeah, no one wins this bet, man.
Yeah, I know.
You guys are grinders. Why don't you bet money?
I'll bet money on it. What do you want to bet, Kitchen?
Okay, let's do the standard $50 bet.
Okay, $50. What are we looking at to find this out? Like,
yeah,
are you gonna play in a 10
I'll play in a 10-man $25 league. If I'm not, I might be already in one.
Are you gonna play Terry Baggett?
Yes.
Of course he is. He's gonna push the line.
Yes.
Then he only
that would
has to
be
get 5 other
stupid.
people to play him.
Yeah, I don't like that. We'll have to come up with something better than that. I'm backing out of this deal already. So let's move on. The other cornerstone that you need to have as your running back is going to be David Fluellen.
Flu.
Do we agree on that?
The flu. You need to have the flu tomorrow. Fluellen for Toledo against Navy is a guy that you must play. He has gone absolutely nuts this season. Fluellen and Baggett I agree. They need to be on your cornerstone. And just don't play against me because I put together a lineup from Early Lonely that features Jordan Lynch, the quarterback for the Northern Illinois Flames, and then Terry Baggett and Fluellen on that squad. That is a monster squad. You do not want to go up against that. You do not.
I don't know. I think this lineup I just put together with them might be better.
Davis, what did I just tell you? It is not.
I really don't know.
Are you getting action right now while we're doing the show?
What do you mean getting action?
Are you putting lineups together right now while we're talking?
I had not put Fluellen or Baggett in any, so I'm creating some head-to-heads right now.
I'm glad we're educating. So
well, and I think that might. I mean, I really didn't hear Baggett's name at all this week among some of the expert sites, and
yet you're saying he's going to be 60% owned. So you think all the experts across all the sites are saving him for their private use?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Davis.
Oh, that's dirty. That is so dirty. I hope nobody's doing that.
I mean, you're messing with people's. Basically, people want to feel like they have the edge. Davis, I'm going to correct your shot a little bit because it's like your neck up. So here we go. No. Let me do it.
Can I give away this like lineup that's going to win the 2K Flea Flicker tomorrow though? If anyone wants to do it.
Let's do it. Let's hear it.
Yeah, it's CJ Brown, Fluellen, Terry Baggett, Jamison Crowder, Ty Montgomery, Rantavius Wooten, and CJ Uzoma.
Ooh, CJ Uzoma. It's actually Uzoma.
He's my punt tight end on FanDuel, but yeah, that's gonna win the 2K Flea Flicker tomorrow. In case anyone was wondering.
Do you not want to pair Brown with Diggs?
Thank you. No. 6,300.
No,
he's cheap. He's cheap.
I'd rather play Ty Montgomery, who at this point is all Stanford has going through the air. And they're going to get into a shootout with Hundley, for sure.
Davis, I can't see the smoke coming in, from your room, but there is clearly some sort of crack in there. Ty Montgomery, get out of here, man. Get out of here.
Nah, man. I love Ty Montgomery.
He was good. I just don't.
And did you not see him against Washington State? He kept their offense in it.
Oh,
What is that? I don't know what that was.
It was his little snack crackers. Are those
Oh, okay.
are those the Hun Cow?
No, man. This is vanilla almond awake. It's organic.
Nice, very nice. I like CJ Brown at quarterback. Here are the quarterbacks that I like. You can't really, with those two running backs, you can't really spend on. I mean, Lynch is the highest I could go. You can't really spend anywhere else. The two cheap quarterbacks that I mentioned today on my Super Sexy Pick video is number one, Matty Mock for Missouri. It's $4,500 minimum salary. The game is in Columbia. And basically, Pinkel, when asked this week what was going to change, he said nothing. So he's $4,500. Nothing's going to change. He still has options. I get that Florida's defense is pretty good. However, this guy set multiple national passing records. He is a stud, and at $4,500, you can play whoever you want elsewhere.
Give me PJ Walker.
Cooper
over.
Rush.
Yeah, you got a ton of other options than sitting on Matty Mock.
Yeah, you can do that.
So are those guys minimum salary?
$5K.
4.9.
If you're talking about 4.9 or 5, I'm going at $200 more and go Anthony Boone. Boone all up on ya. Virginia's top corner is going to be out. Boone had 3 touchdowns last week. His only start last year was against Virginia, where he went ham, had 3 touchdowns. I think that Boone is going to be the play. David Cutcliffe said flat out, when asked about his play last week, he said he was just ridiculous. Boone at 5.2 is money. Pair him up with Isaac Blakeney, the tight end on FanDuel. He's not a tight end. He's a wide receiver, but he's tight end eligible. So
he's a big boy,
like
too.
3K?
He is 3.6. Jake McGee is 3.9. But
give me McGee over Blakeney if you can.
Give me Amaro or give me death.
Oh my gosh.
That is not a real quote, Davis.
That's so patriotic.
No, I just said that because I mean it. Either give me Jason Amaro or give me someone who literally costs the minimum price.
Okay, what about Funchess?
No, because I don't believe in Gardner.
He just said give him Amaro or give him death.
Yeah, I'm literally playing Amaro or Min on all sites.
Yeah, which doesn't make any sense because there's guys that are like 900 more than death that are decent. Like Jake McGee had 114 yards on 8 catches and a touchdown last week.
I don't tell you how to be, Ben. Why are you trying to tell me how to be?
I'm not telling you how to be.
Here,
you are great.
Here's how the experts do it. They basically ask who you like or tell you who you like. When you disagree, Davis, you know this more than anybody. When they disagree, they tell you why you are wrong. And that, I mean, I find it funny, Davis, that you're asking Ben why he's trying to tell you how to be, when you are like known for proving people wrong, wanting to prove people wrong.
What can I say, man? What can I say? DFS is a different beast, though. No one's ever wrong in DFS unless you lose.
Which, as we all know, never happens to any of the experts.
Ben never loses. Every entry.
I don't play. That's why I don't lose.
Ben makes money on every entry he's ever entered. He's 100% profitable.
I actually, for college football, from what I've played, I only lost the first Thursday. So far this year, I've been very lucky. I wouldn't say that's skill. That's luck.
Do you think you're 80%?
Well, that'd be better than 80% actually there, Kitchen. But thank you for
he's
that.
Talking about like win rate though, like individual leagues. You're talking about profit.
Yeah, profiting 80%. Well, he's making fun of me because in private conversations, I said last year I was 80% on NFL, and this year I've been sucking on NFL. So they make fun of me. Him and his little Tuttle partner like to jab at me until last week when I put up a good score.
By the way, Tuttle partner is not a real thing. Let's talk, though, more about FanDuel. Some of the sexy options like Sailor Lavalley, the top 25. You also have Martese Waller. What are your thoughts on Waller, Ben?
He's it depends on how dynamic Fresno is in this game and how much they want to throw. As you've seen in all the other Fresno games, that Derek Carr he'll throw and then they score a lot and then they kind of back down and then Martese Waller starts getting the carries. This game might be a little bit closer. I mean, one of the commenters in the chat brought up the point that UNLV has put up some good, decent defensive numbers. So it might be interesting to see if this is a tighter game, but I think it's going to be a shootout on both sides of the ball. And so maybe Waller gets in the end zone a couple times. I don't know. I think it's going to be more like you've said, and you pointed this out, and it comes back in my brain every time I start looking at Derek Carr, is that Fresno wants Derek Carr to be the greatest thing that has ever walked through the city of Fresno. And so they're going to be using him early and often as much as possible to try to push that Heisman ballot.
Yeah. And he has a couple of good receivers. I mean, obviously, we talk about the number one option. Number two, though, is a guy that you really like.
On Draft Street.
Or, no. Well, yes.
Are you guys talking about Harper?
Yes, Harper. Where I really like Harper is, Ben, can you just raise up a little bit? Don't want to show the cup that you just peed in, but a little bit more.
I can't get any higher.
Well, you can stand up a little bit, right?
Oh, yeah. Are we at the midpoint? Do we need to do like an inspection?
No, we don't need to do it. Okay, well, now you're too high. Just forget it. Draft day has Josh Harper at 6,500. Major mistake. Pricing mistake. He is going to be... if people don't own him, it's just because they didn't see him or they don't know about him. Because if you know about him, what he can do, his matchup, you're going to want to take him. Going back, though, to your point about Carr, I'm not rostering him on FanDuel. However, I think Harper has a decent... I think he has a decent game for his price on FanDuel, which is $7,100. But, yeah, if a school creates a website for their player for a Heisman, even though he's not getting any Heisman pub, if they're currently promoting him for Heisman, they're going to be trying to get him the ball as much as possible. Davis, do you agree with that? I mean, would that yawn say yes or no with my assessment?
No, I'm in on that. I haven't gotten Carr in anywhere. Maybe I just suck at college football fantasy, but he's so expensive, and I don't know. I have fear of the unknown, and I've never played Carr before, so I'm worried.
Carr made us a lot of money, like a couple weeks ago when you paired him with Devontae Davis.
He's no Rakeem Cato, man.
Oh my gosh.
No, I'm joking. But where should I get him in on FanDuel with Devontae Davis?
He was $7K when we rolled him out. He's $9K now, so it's a different ball game.
That was like when Casey Carrier was 4.5K.
Yeah, that was some beautiful days. Those days are gone. FanDuel has tweaked it. So there's it's interesting if you look in the late FanDuel. I know I'm taking your job, Kitchen, but I'm going to take it for a second. If you look in the late FanDuel slate, Cody Fiardo is all the way up to 7K too. So like they've adjusted every little value play you could think of is now normal. So
yeah, I don't know. What about the Northern Illinois running back who had like 300 yards his last game out?
Yeah, Sting. No, he didn't have 300 yards.
That was 2 games ago.
Yeah, he had a big game a couple games ago, Stingley, and then he got in trouble with the law. and was able to play last week and didn't do a whole lot. Yeah, I like him. I mean, Central Michigan, no, they've been better lately. He put up, I'm looking at it right now. He put up 80 yards and a touchdown last week, but the week before that against Kent, he put up 266 and 2 touchdowns. So that's what you're thinking about. And he's 6.6. So if you're looking for that kind of running back at that price range, I'm game. On FanDuel, if you're looking on Draft Street, Stingley's priced a little bit higher, I think. But, you look at the other guys priced around him, Mac Brown, Jeremy Langford is an interesting one. I think Langford could possibly.
Yeah, I've got Langford in a lot on FanDuel.
David convinced me to get on that bandwagon.
Touchdowns.
He did score 4 touchdowns, but he's another one of those guys. You just mentioned earlier about the yards per carry thing, and I like athletes when I'm picking running backs and in college football. And Langford isn't much of an athlete. He's a pounder. So
I would agree.
Are you back? Are you back, David?
I relieved myself. I let you have the show for a little bit, so I'm back. As far as must plays, Melvin Gordon is a must play on FanDuel. As far as the top 25, and I think he's even in the late slate. Melvin Gordon's a guy that I'm looking at against Illinois at 8.2. Another guy that I think, I don't know, I want to get your take, Ben, on this. Byron Marshall. I don't think DeAnthony Thomas goes tomorrow. If he does not go tomorrow,
you have to get Byron Marshall in your lineup.
He's 6.9. Sailor Lavallee is 6.8.
Yes, you stop with, if you need to be on the news on this game, and that's something good to point out, David. As you're making your Draft Street lineup, as you're making your FanDuel lineup, as you're making your whatever lineup, you need to be on this game, because if DeAnthony Thomas is a no-go, Byron Marshall is still priced so cheaply across the board that you need to take advantage of it. You don't need to even second guess yourself. If you've got a 10K guy on Draft Street, or if you've got a 6.9 guy on FanDuel, you need to clear him out, put in Byron Marshall, and feel great about yourself, because he's been a stud filling in, and he will continue to be a stud against Washington State, who's anybody that watched Washington State play against Stanford, which I stayed up late into the night to do because I had money pending on that game, knows that Washington State isn't that great.
What about Thomas Tyner? Because the first game, Tyner had just, actually, I think he even outscored Marshall in fantasy points and was getting goal line work.
Tyner's the better athlete, but Byron Marshall's got the bigger role. And so, when you were talking about earlier 50-50, they're not a 50-50 split. It's Marshall, then Tyner. Just like it's DeAnthony Thomas, then Marshall.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I think that's where you got to kind of differentiate. But, yeah, David, like you were saying, Byron Marshall is a no-brainer if DeAnthony Thomas is a no-go. And we saw last week, everybody got just – I'm glad I didn't play a lot last week because I was out of town, but we all got, pardon the word, bamboozled by the fact that DeAnthony Thomas was going to play and then dressed out and didn't do anything. Didn't play.
Who put him in a lineup?
This
guy.
I did not have. I faded that game. I wish I would have had at least Braylon Addison. His price is only 6.9. You got him at 6.9, Jarvis Landry at 7K. Ben, who would you rather have?
Landry.
Davis?
Yeah, go
ahead. Davis is modeling for us right now, so Ben, go ahead with that original thought.
Oh, okay. So Landry is actually my pick again this week. Like, we know we go back and forth with Beckham versus Landry, and I was on Beckham last week. I've been on Landry all the way up to the last time we had the show. I'm back on the Landry bandwagon. I think he has a good game, and he's cheaper. So yeah, I'm in on Landry. I don't think there's any question. I think he has a good game. Although we need to point this out, we haven't really gotten to Jeremy Hill. Jeremy Hill is going to have could have a great game in this matchup. Mississippi is awful against the run. And I could definitely see, which I pointed out in the article, I could definitely see LSU totally concentrating on the run, totally focusing on getting him carries, and that's what's going to be the question mark. Like I know we talked about this earlier because you saw that I was on Jeremy Hill, and you were like, well, they got so many options, but I think they're going to pound again with Jeremy Hill.
It was a matter of you had Jeremy Hill instead of Melvin Gordon, I think, or there was some guy around Jeremy Hill's price that I said I would rather have, or is like a combo. Jeremy Hill's
It was TJ Yeldon.
TJ Yeldon. I mean, it's for me. They're right there in the same area. Yeldon, he does have someone eating into his carries, but it's just really him.
He looked so bad last week. I know you said, like we talked about this, he progressed as the game went on against Kentucky, but I watched that whole game and I had Yeldon on all my teams, and I was just like, please God, let Yeldon break away one. And if you watch this game, and I tweeted about it, he would hit the line and just kind of whatever, 3 yards down, 4 yards down, 5 yards down. And in college, in pro football, that's fine. In college football, you need those 20-yard, 30-yard big. And it wasn't until Kenyon Drake came in and just started busting big runs that it seemed like it lit a fire in Yeldon's ass to where Yeldon decided to actually show up to the game, and then he started to play well. So I don't know what's going on with Yeldon this year as a whole. I know he's been injured, but he just doesn't inspire a lot of trust in me.
Okay.
I never take Yeldon.
I don't blame you there. So C Strunk at 9K on FanDuel, Ben, too much for you?
No. I can never get enough C Strunk.
But
I won't because is he in the late slate or is he in the early slate? Okay, so yeah, I'm looking at my late slate lineup right now, and I'm going Hill and Gordon. So I don't know if the rest of the world is thinking that same thing, but I'm going Jeremy Hill, Melvin Gordon. So I guess he doesn't really fit into my role.
Silas Red, 5K on FanDuel. Your thoughts on Silas Red with Trey Madden, the running back for USC, being out? When the game was on the line last week, they used Silas Red to kind of ice it. I said on the video today to ice the clock. What I meant was ice the game and milk the clock. So as far as he goes, he's 5K. On the Friday night games, I busted him and Marshall out as my two running backs just because some of those other sexy options weren't available. I don't even think, for some reason, Melvin Gordon wasn't available in the Friday-Saturday games on FanDuel. It was a weird slate. So I busted Red and Marshall out. I think Red at 5K is a great option to basically get a cheap running back that's going to be the feature back. Notre Dame's not as good as what they used to be. What are your thoughts on that?
If I'm going first on this one, I want to strictly say that Silas Red is a risk. If you watched after Trey Madden went down, they used a three-headed system of Davis, Madden, and then another running back. I can't even remember his name. And the other running back, the third running back, was really awesome in that game.
Javorius or something like that?
Dude, I can't. I wish I could remember his name.
Is Trey Madden out for sure? Because I was doing blurbs like 2 hours ago and I couldn't find anything.
Yeah, it's Javorius Allen. That's who it was. He put up 2 touchdowns and 37 yards in the Arizona game last week. But he's the one that kind of came on and spurred everything. And he's like what, 4th on the depth chart? Which I'm not saying not to go Red. Red's established. Red's awesome and he's great. Notre Dame is the 6th best run defense against running backs. 6th in the country. So to just automatically just roll Red out there is tough for me.
I mean, he is a risk, but like I said, at the end, that is who they went to, and if they are going to be they are going to have to run the ball a little bit against Notre Dame. I think that for 5K for a guy that has a lot of talent like he does and a featured a featured back, it's going to be tough to mess with that.
Yeah.
Paul Perkins, would you rather have him for UCLA?
No, I wouldn't. No, I. So yeah, if you're choosing between those two, no, I'd rather have Red.
Let's talk about the wide receivers for FanDuel because there's a lot of different options. There's different slates of games. Ben, a guy that I talked about in the video, and you mentioned him today when we were talking, Marcus Sullivan for that UNLV team. He is their number 2 receiver. He had 13 for 113 last week. And basically Fresno's offense as good as they are, their defense is that bad. Sullivan's at 5,500. You also have other wide receivers in that range. Mulaney is in the 5,500 range. Green.
Don't make me pick. Don't you can't I can't pick between Mulaney and.
All right. Well, what about Florida?
and
The Florida
Sullivan.
State game. There, Rashad Green is 5,700. Also, which of those three do you like the best?
I will take Mulaney first, Sullivan second, and then Rashad Green. Just because Kenny Shaw has emerged in that Florida State passing game, and Jameis Winston does a good job of kind of spreading the wealth enough to where Green has, like, I think, don't quote me on this, I'm not looking at the numbers, but like 5 touchdowns on the year, and I mean that's awesome, but that's where he's been getting a lot of his value. He has disappeared in games too. Whereas Marcus Sullivan, he missed the first, let me look at this. I think he missed the first 4 games of the year. And then ever since he's been on, he's put up awesome fantasy numbers both weeks. I mean, the week against New Mexico, he put up 48 yards and then a 69-yard run for a touchdown. And then against Hawaii last week, he put up 113 yards on 11 catches. And like you just mentioned, that Fresno State's pass defense is kind of weak, and Caleb Herring is kind of coming into his own, and so people are going to be focused on the other wide receiver. His name's missing in my brain for the moment. What's the star wide receiver?
Adams.
It's, Devontae Adams. Yeah, Devontae Adams for UNLV is the stud. I think you could see Marcus Sullivan just kind of sneak in there and have a really good game for $5,500. And then Milani, the fact that he's even playing is awesome, and Cal is awful against the pass. So, makes sense.
The thing that scares me about Mulaney, however you want to say it, is that he has the turf toe injury. And turf toe does affect running backs and wide receivers. So that scares me a little bit. However, he could have like no toes and still score on this Cal defense. I just don't think he's going to be as good as what he would be healthy with that turf toe. But at 5,500, you can't go wrong, especially if he's playing. He and Caleb Smith are going to be pretty good options. Ben, you talked about Stephon Diggs. I am right there with you on Diggs from Maryland having a bounce back game, and Brown. That Davis, you're on Brown this week. Your thoughts on the Diggs Brown combo?
I've got him in a couple times. Diggs is always frustrating because a lot of times when you pair him with Brown, you're hoping for like red zone targets and stuff, and then Brown just runs it in instead. I don't have Diggs in a whole lot this week. I think I have him in like 5 or 6 FanDuels, but because I'm going really expensive on wide receiver, and then like 2 of the value guys. I have DeAndre Smelter. He is 0.8% owned in a couple of my GPPs. He's in the Calvin, Demarius, Stephen Hill role in Georgia Tech, and so that he's at 4.8K, and so that's sort of the strategy I've been taking towards wide receiver.
A guy that I like at 4.8K. I think he's 4.8 or 4.7. I think Northwestern's going to score a lot of points tomorrow. And the guy that I'm looking at is Rashad Lawrence. He is a different. He's like the sexy play. He is definitely a sexy pick, but he has led the team the past 2 weeks in receptions and yards. And I think that if they're going to air it out, it's either going to be 3 guys, Tony or Christian Jones, or Rashad Lawrence. Lawrence is the bigger back or the bigger wide receiver. I think he is going to do a really good job. Wide receiver for the late games, there are there's that Boise State game that is in play. Also, the BYU game, BYU and Houston game is in play. I like Deontay Greenberry at 6.7K for that game. As far as the wide receivers, though, with the late lineup, is this the late lineup or is this the early lineup? This is the early only lineup. That Boise State game is it killed me last week because I picked Matt Miller. Matt Miller didn't do anything, but another guy did. He's like 5'5", and he has been tearing it up. Originally, just getting bubble screens. That is Shane Williams Rhodes. Ben, do you feel good about rostering him at 5.7K?
I mean, the late slate's hard to kind of navigate, but those there's enough of those other 5,500 guys. I mean, we just talked about it, Milani and Sullivan. If you're playing in the late slate, there's Milani, Sullivan, Drez Anderson, or as David likes to call him, Drace. So you have all those guys. Drace is 5,700. So yeah. I mean, you got those same guys right there. I mean, Shane Williams Rhodes. Yeah, he was awesome last week, and I was with you, David. I took Matt Miller upon your advice because
he had a good
told
matchup.
Me to do so.
Gosh.
And I wasn't really. I was kind of in the mountains and didn't really pay a whole lot of attention to it. And I took Matt Miller, and Matt Miller was a good play last week. Something happened. I don't know what happened, but he caught a catch. He made a catch for 5 yards early in the game, and then it was all Shane Williams Rhodes. And then at the very end of the game, he made another catch. But thankfully, we made better picks with our other players. But
are you guys putting Cooks in at all on FanDuel?
Yeah, he's more no. Now that's a good point, Davis. He is so much more doable on FanDuel.
Yeah, on sites with the hard cap like DraftKings and FanDuel, you can just put him right in.
Yes, I rostered him in on a team. Basically, for me, I had to use either Boone or Matty Mock to get him on that team with two decent running backs, two value running backs. But I definitely think that you can use Cooks in that late slate. If you're still joining us, if you're still listening an hour and a half later, I'm going to give you some guys in this late slate that you need to play. Are you guys playing any late games?
I haven't entered yet, so hit me. I got my iPhone notes pulled out.
For Boise, Ajayi, I don't even know how you say it. However, he has been tearing it up. And speaking of tearing it up, the other running back, Aaron Baltazar, has a torn ACL now. So they're expecting Ajayi to have more of a load in that game against Nevada. And speaking of Nevada, Cody Fiardo is in the late slate for Nevada as the quarterback, only 7K, and his knee is better. Last week he had a brace, still did pretty decent. This week he is without the brace. He's at full strength against Boise. I expect him to run it on the ground. I think you've got to have that in there. I'm not going to lie, my late game lineup is looking pretty sweet with those guys in it.
Do you have Fiardo as your quarterback in your late game lineup, Dave?
I do. At 7K, I just think that you have to have him in there.
I actually watched Nevada the last 2 weeks because actually he helped me in a Super 7. Aaron Wimberly, what's his price? Or Brandon Wimberly for Nevada. He's their number one wide receiver, and he is a target machine.
He's on Iowa State. He's not in. Oh, I'm sorry, Brandon Wimberly. I'm sorry.
He's 6.2K. Aaron Wimberly is the running back for Iowa State.
Yeah, you threw me off when we started talking about the other Wimberly. Yeah, Brandon Wimberly's if you're going to play, if you are going to play for Fiardo, then you need to put Wimberly in there too. So yeah, I'm with you on that.
I disagree. You don't have to because there's other good wide receivers.
You don't have
Drace Anderson's 5.7K. That is the guy you have to put in there.
For GPP purposes, I can understand it, though.
No, I mean, you can understand it, but what I'm saying is you don't have to. GPPs, you don't have to do anything. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to do anything.
You're free, right, Kitchen? You can do whatever you want to do.
Do whatever you like. If you have any questions, feel free to ask us. This is Insiders TV, the Friday Night Football Show, and we're talking about the college football games tomorrow. Ben, are you playing anywhere on DraftKings, Star Street, any of those other places?
Okay. No, I've spent so much time researching Draft Street, and then I've also researched a lot of FanDuel. Those are kind of becoming my two college football sites. FanDuel is becoming a big site for me to make some money on. So I think that's the way it's gonna roll. I've looked a little bit at DraftKings, but not enough to make educated decisions. But like you said earlier when we started the show, if you do your homework, if you read the articles, if you do your own work, you can figure it out. I think on DraftKings they have Pitt matchup against Old Dominion, right?
Yes.
On DraftKings. So yeah, I mean, if you're looking at Pitt, I think Connor and Street are both questionable to probable. And so if you're looking at that matchup, other than that, everything's pretty much the same. Just do your math when it comes to the salaries. But when it comes to like James Conner and Devin Street and the Pitt matchup, Old Dominion has a sneaky decent defense, but that doesn't mean that Pittsburgh's not going to run all over them and have big points.
Old Dominion's defense is little. They're going to allow a lot of points, but what Old Dominion does is they also get into not boat races. They also get into basically a lot of points. They score a lot of points. They have, I think it's going to be a high scoring game. Tom Savage on Star Street, I think, is 10 points, 10.2K.
Yeah, get him
in. Be a
in.
must play. They're going to have over 400 yards passing, and to that point, Tyler Boyd's going to be the play. Ben, I know you're not a big Tyler Boyd fan. I think he.
That's not true. I didn't know how good this kid was. I mean, that's the way it was. I saw I had watched the game. I can't remember which one it was, but I watched one earlier in the season, and I focused on Devin Street, and I was like, man, Devin Street looks so awesome, and it looks like this team is running through Devin Street. And then James Conner popped up, and then Tyler Boyd popped up before James Conner. And these other options have really made Tom Savage kind of rise into the top of I guess the cream of the crop, if you want to call it that. And so that whole offense is pretty dynamic. I mean, it's pretty awesome to take for the fantasy purposes, especially against the Old Dominion. So yeah, I get all up in that game. I wish that they were over on some of the other sites. So what site is the Pitt Old Dominion game available for? I know you said Star Street.
I also think Fantasy Feud.
It's on DraftKings.
Yes. So those three, it's on. Another guy we haven't talked about. The only guy left that I have to talk about is Laquan Treadwell for Ole Miss. Did you guys see, I mentioned it earlier today, did you see where an NFL scout said he was the best wide receiver in college right now?
That's why you can't trust your eyes, gentlemen.
Why is that?
Because he's not. Because Jordan Matthews is still a thing.
Hey, I love Jordan Matthews. It's still, the scout said, I'm just going by what a scout said. LSU's defense is not what it has been in the past. And the thing with Treadwell is they're basically just throwing these wide receiver screen passes out to him, these short 2-yard passes, and then letting him run with it. If you look at his yards after catch, it's a lot. And he's a target monster on the PPR sites. I think for where his salary is, DraftKings is still pretty low. Even Draft Street, it's low. I really like Treadwell.
Yeah, he's minimum on DK.
Yeah, he's under 8K on Draft Street, but I'm not as high as you are on him this week. I was high. I liked him last week. I'm not as high on him this week.
Okay, we have a question from Mav in the chat. It says Landry or Drace Anderson.
Is that for me?
Drace.
Ben?
Can we call him Drez? I mean, Drez.
No, we're doing it to bother you now.
I'm going Landry. Let's do this again. I feel good about Landry.
Okay. I mean, Landry and Beckham have really good matchups. The only reason why I would pick
Well,
Drez is because he doesn't have that competition from Hill
here
or Beckham.
here's here's the thing with Drez. If you look at his game logs, it's like he peaks at like 117 and a touchdown, which is great, and that's what he's been doing pretty much every game. But if you look at Landry's peak is like, you know, 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. I think he's that great, and so it's a different kind of player when you're kind of making an educated decision at the same price point. I'm going Landry.
Well, I don't. I'm not. I don't think either is wrong. But number one, on most sites, Anderson is cheaper than Landry. I guess I would go with whoever's cheaper, especially on FanDuel, where he is so cheap. I think that he is a must play. If you don't play him,
Dink asks who's the favorite Georgia player.
okay, for you, who is it?
Todd Gurley.
You cannot use Gurley. Everybody knows you're a Gurley man.
So I mean, I was beating the drum for Gurley last year, so it's just I didn't have a platform to actually beat the drum, so it's actually fun to get to say that he's the best running back in college football. But yeah, he's not going to play, so it's tough to pick out who the actual guy is. I know David, you're all up in Conley's jock, so I know who you're going to say. If you're gonna go wide receiver, I'm leaning Rontavious Wooten.
Yeah,
If you need if you need a running back, then go JJ Green. So you have the choice between JJ Green or Brendan Douglas. Go JJ Green. If you're going wide receiver, Conley or Wooten, and Wooten is cheaper, then go Wooten. If Wooten is more expensive, then go Conley. My opinion.
Dink asks pairing both Wooten and Conley on FanDuel. It depends on the game. I don't have a problem with that at all, and that speaks to the ineptitude of the Vandy defense, secondary especially. They've
You can't pair both of them though. That's crazy.
I mean, yes,
No,
you
can't.
can. You don't know how
can't
bad Vandy's. Okay,
You can't do it. Make a decision.
you can. Trust me, you can if you go
I'm
expensive
not.
elsewhere because Vandy. I mean, watch Aaron Murray just completely just poop the bed tomorrow. I'm not gonna lie, it'd be nice for my Vanderbilt's fandom, but
Could
you
it happen?
have the secondary, and sometimes they just look lost out there, and they don't have any sort of linebackers. That is their real position of need. They haven't been getting to the quarterback. Georgia has a decent offensive line. If you're asking my favorite player, it's probably J.J. Green, but I think there's more running back options, and his price is a little high. But my favorite player is Conley. I think he's going to get behind that Vandy secondary at least once tomorrow. He's has had an extra week to acclimate to that outside receiver slot. He admitted that he was not used to that this past week, so that's why I would go Conley. At 5K, you can't go wrong with either, though, even though Wooten's 5.1.
Yes.
Wooten is also minimum priced on DraftKings. I know we haven't talked about that, but that's just like throw him in your third wide receiver slot, put in Cooks, and you're feeling great.
I feel like DraftKings there are so many options, and you just look at those running backs we've talked about: brown, red, green, the colors. They all are like in that minimum range. There's just a ton of options you can play on DraftKings, and that's why for me, I've stayed away the past 2 weeks just because I felt like my edge has been on other sites. Now, if I really start if they start to overlay pretty hard, I have played some cash games over there. As far as the tournaments, though, the tournaments you can roll out 50 different lineups, and they all be really good over there at DraftKings. So that's why I've kind of shied away and have only played the cash games over there. If you have any questions, though, feel free to hit us up. It is 12:23 a.m. Central Time, so if you stayed up with us for 2 hours, then good job by you.
David, David, we stayed pretty constant in the board. I've been looking. Like, the people that came in at the beginning have stayed the whole time.
We still have 26 people in the chat.
Hey, that's one more than we started with.
That's crazy.
And, if you missed it earlier, Dan tweeted out from the Fantasy Insiders account that where our goal was to get to 1,000. We were 975 away from reaching that goal tonight. So set your sights high. If there is one player across any site that you have to play tomorrow, who is it? One player, you can only choose one.
Oh, gosh.
Brandon Cooks.
Oh, gosh. Way to go out on a limb.
Jeez. But I've seen it all on Twitter. I've seen it on the LU Dogs thread. People think he's too expensive. When you do what Brandon Cooks does, you're not too expensive.
And that's a good point. I brought it up in my article when I put him as number one on the value ranks because, at 21K, you wonder how he could be at top of the value ranks. His consistency when he's bad, he's 28 points. The 2 games he was bad in, he was 28 fantasy points. At 21K, 28 Draft Street fantasy points, that's solid on a bad game.
You're going to be in Draft Street. You're going to be in a GPP. It's going to be like 7 o'clock at night, you're going to be in 5th place, you're going to feel good, and then you realize that the Oregon State game starts later and that you're going up against a Mannion-Cooks combo, and you're done. Because the guy who does the Mannion-Cooks combo with the right value plays is going to win.
And that's not the stupidest thing Davis has ever said. So I would agree with that.
That's how I won one last week, was Mannion and Cooks.
Ben, who is your guy?
But what's with the video? What's with the music? I can't.
Who's your guy? Tell us who it is. Who are you riding with?
Lachey Seastrom.
Yeah.
Lake Seastrom. That's who you're riding with. My guy. If you're playing one guy, it's Josh Harper over there on draft day, pricing mistake. Anywhere else, I'm looking at you, Melvin Gordon, to take me to the promised land. You guys ready? All right. That will be it. We're riding out. We will see y'all later. Best of luck tomorrow. I'm yelling because it's really loud in my ear. I probably don't have to yell. Come on, march with me. Come on, Davis.
No, I like our song.
Okay, we'll see y'all later. Pop-Tarts and peeing for everybody.